It is on!
The earliest announcement ever for the biggest wellness summit on record. Get ready to join 1,000 wellness enthusiasts at the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre on, wait for it, new dates, September 10 and 11, 2016.
Get ready to see your favourite Wellness Cash presenters as you've never seen them before.
Regular tickets to the summit will be $297, but for a very limited time, up until Christmas, get your friends together for a special super early bird rate of 5 tickets for the price of 2. That's less than $120 per person, less than $10 per hour to experience over 16 hours of Powerhouse Wellness.
And even better, every ticket goes in the draw to have an incredible Christmas prize from the Wellness Couch, which is 1 ticket to the 2016 Wellness Breakthrough and a VIP upgrade to the summit.
Wowee.
Get your skates on, folks, and find 4 friends, book your tickets, and automatically enter the draw at www.thewellnesssummit.com.
TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, featuring your hosts Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today's podcast is brought to you, sponsored by Mystical Dragon, who are a beautiful, mystical, new age, hippie, whatever you want to call it, store that actually around the corner from me in Seaford. So if you're a Mornington Peninsula local, then this is your one-stop shop for anything pagan, anything ritual, anything divine feminine. You need cards, you need crystals, you need anything. This is this tiny tucked away little shop that's in an industrial area near me, and it's down Hartnett Drive.
And it's a little treasure trove, isn't it?
It actually really is. Every time I'm going to a friend's space, or I need a crystal for something, or I'm setting up, I don't know, an altar to something and I need beautiful candles or a feather, or I'm making a dream catcher, I pop in there. And these beautiful women did sponsor our retreat with the divine feminine cards that we used intuitively throughout our retreat. And they're beautiful. They're both, it's a mother-daughter combo that run this shop. They run all sorts of short courses as well as having the retail shop itself. And they're beautiful. You walk in there, you'll honestly find whatever you need. So Mystical Dragon, if you're a local, is a great place to go. So today we are talking about holding your space, and we thought we would do a podcast on this because it keeps coming up. We keep saying, how do you get authentic? When do you know you're out of alignment? Like last week's podcast, when are you injecting other people's beliefs? Is when you're not holding your space. So how do you hold your space? And what does that even mean, right?
And I loved it that it was just so perfect because Jill suggested this topic, and I had been sitting with this quote from Oprah because I went and saw Oprah recently when she was in Melbourne.
So jealous.
And she talked a lot about this, and it's funny because I was recounting this story of how Oprah, now on her makeup room has this sign that says, be responsible for the energy you bring into this room. And Jules has exactly the same story around birth.
That's hilarious. Because Bridget goes, and I went, oh, God, that's so old, Bridget.
Yeah, that's so old.
I've been doing that for years. Every single birth I've ever gone to, I've had a printed up sign, please be responsible for the energy you bring into this space, that goes on the front door. So it doesn't matter if it's the front door of a house or if it's the front door of the birthing room that you're in a hospital. I've always put that on there because particularly in hospitals, people just walk in and out of that birthing room and they can have a vile energy about them. They can have an angry energy. They can be loud and aggressive. They can just be stomping around and carrying whatever's gone on for them or is going on for them
in a big dark cloud.
Your space. And particularly for a birthing woman, when she is so open, like open on every channel, every level, every anything, physically, emotionally, spiritually open, like blasted open.
Yeah.
You've got to be really careful about the energy that's then entering that very open, receptive space.
Because she's really in a vulnerable space. So
incredibly vulnerable. And as a doula, I was always incredibly conscious of that because I always had a mantra and a process, a ritual I went through to just leave my stuff.
To clear yourself.
Yes, because I didn't want to be, I was responsible for the energy I was carrying, and I wanted it to be her energy and her healing and her space to do whatever it is that she needed to do to bring this soul into the world.
And how in the hell can you expect to hold her space if you are clouded by your own shit?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And there were some, God, I could recount so many birth stories of, some absolute horrors that just stomped into the room. And I was thinking, shit, man, we have just spent 4 hours creating the most amazing vibe in this space.
Yeah.
You just come in and shat all over it. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? What are you doing working in birth when that is the energy you're bringing? Because that energy makes you want to retract and close up and shut down and shut off, as opposed to which is the opposite that you're wanting to do in birth, right? Which in birth you're wanting to open up and expand and, you know, be responsible for the energy you're bringing in.
Yeah, check yourself.
Totally check yourself. And even when we were doing, can't remember which podcast it was it Rituals? I'm not sure. And I was talking about, I even have those dark crystals by my front door that I programmed.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I was saying I program them to almost have like a vortex wall that prevents people's dark energy coming into my space. I really do think that works. But it's also that whole thing of the space that I'm living in, healing in, working in, needs to vibrate at a particular level. And if it's not, then, you know, you have to do something about that, or you have to create some sort of intent. And even just having that sign on the wall just makes people have that moment somewhere in their psyche that goes, oh yeah, check in. Oh, what's that? Or don't bring that. Or like even just those words.
Even just a momentary, you know.
The moment. It doesn't even have to be a big, deep, you know, ritual thing. Just seeing those words printed and reading them creates a shift in someone. And I have friends that have it, you know, just in their house or on their front door, you know, regularly. I think it's such a fantastic concept to just be checking in about what is the energy and the intent that I'm bringing to anywhere, anytime, any place. What is the energy and the intent I'm bringing to work? What is the energy and intent I'm bringing to cooking this meal?
And to your relationships. I mean, you know, we know our children are our biggest mirrors, and, you know, what is the energy that you're bringing into the dynamic with your child?
Yes, that's right.
You know, that's a big one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So I really love, is that actually Oprah's quote? I don't even know.
No, it's not. It was actually, she told a story of a neurosurgeon who had a stroke, and she only had her left side of her brain was kind of not working at all as a result of the stroke, and her right brain was really, really active. And as a result of that, she was super, super aware of what was coming into the room, you know, the attitude of some of the nurses, and because she had a heightened sense of awareness as a result of that area of the brain being really switched on. And so she could see it almost like a cloud of these people coming in, and that was really why she set that rule. Basically, she had that same sign on the outside of her door in her room,
hospital
ward.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And how's that for like taking ownership and standing in your power too, and saying, how about you check yourself before you come in here and bring your stuff onto me?
Yes, Bridget, that is powerful.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love it too.
So I was thinking about, what does it mean to hold your space and stand in your space? So for me, when I think about what that means to hold your space and stand in your space, is for me, it's a real deep belly. You know how you were saying this last week, you've been so grounded and just in your energy and intentional with your time.
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking by the time this goes to air, I'm probably going to be so not like that, because that's how we grow,
that's
right?
the ebb and flow. But when you're really in your space, you are so totally authentically comfortable and loving of who you are. You don't need to worry about the Joneses down the street, or that your friend's doing this, or that your mother-in-law's saying that, because it just actually doesn't even matter.
It's kind of like water off a duck's back.
It really is, but from a really deeply grounded space of just loving who you are and where you're at. And holding your space for me is also, I think, a lot about holding the feminine space, because I do notice it can be very easy for us as women to slip into a very masculine space, particularly when we're at work with a lot of men, which throughout my career has certainly been the case. And I do volunteer work at the Life Saving Club, so a lot of the lifesavers are men. And I said to you, you know, only a couple of weeks ago with the surf boat training that I've been doing is all men. Like, I'm the only female to do it. And trying to hold my female space in that was a huge challenge.
It was a real sticking point for you.
It was really hard. I had to keep doing it. And the thing is, I think when I think about particularly the holding your space in the feminine, is we so deeply have ingrained in our culture that the feminine equals weak. And so we want to disown it as opposed to attaching strength with the masculine. But the thing is, it's a spectrum, right? There is weakness and there is strength in both of those.
I was just going to say that exact point. But yes, I mean, look at some of the most fiercest like feminine gods, and you know, like you look at, I don't even know what all their names are, but some of them are incredibly fierce and strong, and you know, like
they literally are.
Yeah.
And the thing with the strength of the feminine, I really want people to start flipping, maybe that's a podcast on itself, start flipping the strength with the feminine, is the feminine in its power is, I'm going to say it, Bridget, is more powerful than the masculine, because the masculine is such a lineal, rational, you know, thought process that the feminine clicks in underneath.
It's funny because I actually do agree with that, and it's funny because my coach has been saying to me for so long, he's like, you know, women think that they're so disempowered. It's like, women are more powerful than they know.
Yes, they really are.
And it actually takes an awakened man to know that, or just to see that.
But this is the whole culture behind the suppression of the feminine, because the feminine is so powerful, the masculine doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So culturally, we've just squashed and suppressed because it's easier to keep it under control.
Yeah.
Than to let it be magnificent, and then you're running wild because you don't know what to do when the feminine's really in its power. The feminine is incredibly powerful, is my point.
Yes.
So we need to start flipping what it means to be feminine, because being feminine does not equal being weak.
Or you know, and being feminine does not equal being always passive and just receiving all the time either, because it actually requires that activity, that power, that.
So there's the flip in the feminine, right?
Yeah.
Which is what I want to talk about. I think that's what the next podcast we might do is the fierceness of the feminine in, you know, conflict and mimesis, marriage, blah, blah, blah. We'll come to that next week. So in this point, though, I want to make is when you're holding, for me, when I'm holding my space, is sitting in a deep belly, almost in my pelvis, hips kind of energy for me, and I feel very strong and rooted and feminine, and my hips can just expand and take up space, and I feel strong and I can speak my truth with love without my heart racing, without having a reaction to someone. I can just be, that's cool, man. I totally see where you're at and how that's playing out. I just really feel like it's this.
Yeah.
And it comes from that point, and I can still love this person without needing to be ferocious.
And without needing to change their mind or project onto
or
them
change me.
Yeah, or change you.
Or second guess me.
Yeah.
So owning my space is about really sitting in love and authenticity and a depth of feminine strength with who I am.
And I love it that you said that it's, you know, it's in your belly, and, you know, that it's like your pelvis is expanding.
And I focus on my energy being there.
Because that's a seed of creation.
Yes.
You know, like that, and that's, you know, exactly where it's meant to be, where it needs to be to sit in that feminine.
What is this music playing in the background?
I can't hear it.
You can't hear that?
No.
If you can hear it, we are actually sitting out looking at the bay while we podcast.
Yeah.
Some hooligan who's come up with his windows down with a beam, which is hilarious when we're talking about, you know, deep strength.
And feminine power.
I'm holding my space, Bridget. I need to hold my space with that music in the background. So when we're not holding our space is when, like we talked about in last week's podcast, we're really needing to take on other people's viewpoints and beliefs, or we're not good enough, or we're not doing enough, or we need to get busier because we're not productive enough. It's all of the not enough things.
And also, you know, you're indecisive, you know, that you're looking for outside. What do you think? 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 You know, asking everybody around you to try and help guide yourself.
You need affirmation from the external.
Yeah,
totally. So I thought maybe we'd talk about two things. What challenges you holding your space, and I'd love even personal stories maybe for that, and what can you do to get back into holding your space when you recognise it's out of action. So can we move to the challenge first? So I'm going to ask you, Bridget, what is it that is a trigger point for you that has you not able to sit in your power and hold your space?
Oh, that's a juicy one. Oh my God, that music.
Start me up, Bridget.
Oh, how humorous. Okay, so what is hard for me to hold my space? Okay, I think it's scatterbrain. I think it's when I'm, and the scatter comes from the incongruency, comes from the, you know, sense of low self-worth that creeps up on us, you know, with different triggers, which will be various. And it takes place when I feel like I'm not enough. And then I start to look outside myself and compare myself to other people, where I am, where they are. And you see, I've lost my capacity to string an English sentence together. I'm feeling really vulnerable having to express
Vulnerable's
this.
good.
Yeah,
We love vulnerable,
We
Bridget.
do. I think that the surefire way for me is to be looking at all the things that I feel like I should have done by now or should be doing. And that's never as a result of comparing myself now to myself a year ago. It's comparing myself now to everyone else and what everyone else has done.
I must admit I'm guilty of that too.
It's because the truth is that I say this before and I'll say it again. Envy is ignorance, imitation is suicide. Emerson said that. Genius. So true. We always, the only person we should ever compare ourselves to is ourselves. And the growth that we have personally had. Because it's futile to compare yourself to anyone else. They've got a completely different life with a completely different set of challenges, a completely different set of values.
And a completely different trajectory.
Exactly. Yeah. And, there's that old saying that says, if you could see everyone else's problems, in a pile with your own, you'd grab yours back pretty quick.
I love that.
And it's true, right?
Yeah,
you think that other people leave these...
It's the grass is greener, though, isn't it? Because we don't actually see the challenge and the struggle in others like we see the challenge and struggle in
our
ourselves.
own lives. Yeah, exactly.
So back to what challenges it. So for you, it's comparison?
Comparison, yeah. I think comparison is probably my biggest undoing. But at the same time, it's also my biggest driver. Because if I didn't see people out there doing amazing stuff, then I might think I'm awesome, I might not be driven enough to grow where I want to go. So it also serves me, but it's about keeping that in check. It's about using it as a source of inspiration.
And then holding your space.
And then saying, okay, what am I seeing in that I want to awaken within my own business, self-growth?
That's the thing, isn't it? Whatever it is that we're, in inverted commas, jealous of or envious of, is instead of flipping that into the dark and running that story and that emotion about what you're not enough in, is looking at it as a form of inspiration, a red flag of inspiration, and pulling it apart into almost like a goals list of what is it in that I'm really wanting.
Yes.
Because I want something, and that's why I'm feeling jealous and envious. So what is it that you want? And that is your goal list. That's the reason that is jumping up for you.
We only ever, and we keep saying this, we only ever see anything around us because it's in us too. So we're only seeing those things because we have that in us. It's just not in a form that we've noticed or that we are valuing. So if we see somebody is kicking huge goals in their business and they're just building enormous momentum and just, really kind of hitting their stride. But for us, the truth is that business has taken a second seat to family. And in fact, we're hitting our stride. We've accomplished a lot. We're really empowered in our family. Then that's where our empowerment is. That's where our success is. It's not in that same form that other person has. That other person might be single, might be happily single, but might not have the same responsibilities and interests and values that you have. Yeah. So whatever you're seeing in them and those qualities you have, it's just about seeing the form that you've already got it. To see, okay, all right, that's what that's trying to show me. But now I still want to expand the form that I'm desiring, which might be business. But you're doing it from a place of,
This is great, though, because this is a toolkit also for holding your space.
Yeah.
Is using that flag for inspiration as opposed to running a downward spiral.
Yeah,
energy.
Running that story of I'm not enough or,
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's exactly a tool because, instead of kind of going down that, self-deprecating kind of, like judgment, asking yourself the question, why am I continuing to notice that? Why am I spending an hour on this person's Facebook or this person's website? Yeah. What is this trying to, what am I trying to seek from this? Before I get to the point of, I could have just spent that whole hour building my website and instead I've looked at somebody else's. Okay, what can I take from that? What am I trying to teach myself? Because unconsciously I have a driver to be doing this.
It's pulling me there.
It's pulling me there. And it's
showing me that I'm seeing this thing, this woman, this all the time.
Yeah. There's an interest in that for me.
Love that.
Yeah.
God, I love the mirror. So then I suppose,
Sometimes.
so for you it's comparison, and I definitely can see myself phasing in and out of that. I love that you only compare you to you, and we use everything else as almost a toolkit of inspiration.
Yeah.
For me, it's back on the masculine, so I really struggle because I think that was my adolescence, was living very much in the masculine and the out there and the achieving. And because I grew up in the feminist era, it was in an all-girls school that was all about women are just as good as men, if not better.
Yeah.
Which is true, but it comes from a very different
It's coming from a place of like we're constantly trying to scramble to catch up. You know, that sort of
or
point.
that you know, again, for me in that space, it's that anything that represents the feminine, the sexuality, the feminine seductive sexuality, not the pornographic male sexuality, is, you know, weak, and emotions and vulnerabilities, and it implies that weakness. So we're struggling constantly to prove that we are just as masculine as the men to live in their world. You know,
almost that you know, the only way we can keep up and make any headway
is when we're just like them.
Yeah,
exactly. So.
And so a lot of perhaps your interest, I'm just going to jump in here.
Yeah.
But maybe a lot of your interest in, like, you know, awakening the feminine is to...
Oh, it's come out of a total void.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But I totally see how that serves me. But I can also completely connect with being a woman fitting, and because I'm really tall as well. So I'm 6'1", and I don't fit into the conventional feminine.
And so have you felt that being tall has meant that you've almost been, you know, like, have you seen
more
yourself
masculinized?
more masculine?
Yeah, totally. By society, and also then by myself. I've predicted that on myself. So trying to be feminine whilst, I'm going to say, you know, very plainly, looking like a man is really hard.
You're like the least looking like a man person.
Well, you know,
but yeah.
There's plenty of times I felt like that. You know, like, particularly growing up, I'm in a room of women and they all come up to my shoulders.
Yeah.
I feel like the man.
Wow.
You know, or I'm out at a club and I'm taller than any other guy that's there. Like, hilarious.
Yeah.
Now I can laugh at it because I'm completely comfortable with it and I love it. But back then I can still completely connect with how hard that was, you know? And so for me now, as a woman knowing what I know, I can so easily slip back into being masculine, just like the boys.
Yeah.
As opposed to sitting in my seated feminine power, which is actually where I want to be and where I enjoy and where I have the greatest influence.
Yeah.
But it's so easy for me to slip into my masculine. I kind of get off balance. It feels weird and inauthentic.
But that's part of it. I mean, we're integrated beings of equal masculine and feminine traits, and so that's the natural. If you're trying to go so much into the feminine, then you'll attract situations to balance it out with your masculine.
Because I'm using those situations to get more feminine.
Yeah. Well, you're creating a bigger split, because the more you try and be one way, the more the other way is going to come in.
Bridget.
Just to throw that curveball in there.
Don't throw that curveball at me. I'm going to have to sit with that. So back up on my biggest challenges.
Yeah.
It's that. So I find myself doing rituals. So I just thought we'd talk about maybe what we do. So I love the breaking it down, which we just talked about, because that's definitely a toolkit that we both do. I also use a lot of scent. So I use like the, you know, oh my gosh, you probably see I'm on social media. I'm completely obsessed with sacred living designs perfumes.
If you could smell us right now, we're dousing ourselves.
They go everywhere with me.
What's this one?
That one's Love.
Love.
And so I literally, if I'm feeling like feminine space, hold your feminine space, come back into center, I just rub it on me. And at the moment I'm rubbing it sort of over my chest, heart space and sometimes up into my neck. And it just makes me go, oh, that's right. Feminine. There I am. Hi. Back in your feminine power. So, or I have spritzers. So there's lots of space clearing sprays that you can buy, or crystal essence sprays, or certainly Sacred Living and Heart Space both do them as well. And so I also have those around me. So if I know, particularly when I was working in a space with a lot of men, if I would get back to my desk and I was feeling like angry and worked up, I would just spritz it. Feminine space, hold your space, come back. And just that process of using a tool along with my own kind of mantra worked really well. Also having a mantra, so like we talked about with that sign, whatever the mantra is for you, it's, you know, that is a really powerful statement just to come back to.
Yeah.
Come back into your space, it's safe to be here, come back into your feminine energy, come back to your belly, whatever it is, hold your space, whatever it is, that mantra that just says to you, come back into who you are.
And another one, actually, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about another one that Oprah, because, you know, she's been on my mind since I saw her recently, is that she said when she was 8 years old, she read the poem called Invictus by an English poet. I can't remember his name. And she was incredibly intuitive from a really young age, just as an aside.
She'd have to be.
To achieve what she's pretty much empowered every area of life, so you have to be so aligned, so young to do that. But she kind of took out a key line from this poem, which was, "I am the master of my soul, I am the captain of my ship." And she posted that on her mirror, and it's been one of her guiding mantras or affirmations since that age of 8. And she said, it took her till she was about 40 to truly own that. But even that is a really powerful one, because again, it kind of it seeks to lure you back into alignment, to remind you of who is driving your life, that it's your life, it's nobody else's life, and that you make the choices. You are making decisions every day that are either supporting or challenging what's in your own highest values, and only you can be responsible for that. You can try and blame other people or say that you can't do something, but nothing's ever impossible. It's just a result of the choices that you make, which can be a harsh truth, right? Sometimes. But it's powerful, because you either, and there's a saying that John Demartini says, which is, I'd rather the whole world against me than my own soul. And that's from that basis that, and he says, if you're not being crucified, you're not on purpose. It's that idea that to really listen to the whisperings of your soul, because all of us have the potential for, immense greatness, often means doing something that's so out of the realm of comfort in our society, or out of the current paradigm's comfort, because the greatest, most actualized, empowered people in the world are equally loved and equally loathed because of what they say and do.
They're a bit controversial, aren't they?
Controversial,
yeah.
And the more
the lovers and the haters.
Yeah, but the greater that you can handle that balance of both of those things, the greater that you can integrate the people who hate you and the people who love you, and just continue on your own path. Like, take no credit, take no blame, just focus on that chief aim. The greater, kind of influence you have, because you're not bogged down by what everyone else thinks of you. You just got your eye on the prize. You just got your eye on what you know to be true for you, and you're just pursuing that. And I think it's confronting to think that, wow, like, I feel this immense desire to do this one thing, but that everyone around me, I just think, would hate me for it. That's the challenge, and that's probably a challenge that I'm sure everyone, if they listened to their whisperings, would confront at one area of their life. Because so many people, we grow up trying to conform to what's expected of us and fulfill the life trajectory that is planned out without much of a consideration. You just look at the social structures around you. You look at, you go to school, you go to uni, you get a good job, you meet someone, you get married, you have children, your children grow up, you say after going to some good schools, then they leave, and then you and your husband have a happily ever after life of retirement. Like that's the kind of standard life that's played out. And as soon as you start to challenge some of those societal foundations, whether these are true for you or not, it can be enormously destabilizing. And that's also when your space can become vulnerable, because you're starting to question anything that you've ever held as true for you. And it's enormously scary, right?
Yeah, it really is.
So...
And that's when you need coaches and you need a tribe around you, like our tribe, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So if you're going through that, I would say also, please drop us a line, please message us, please come on Facebook, because we are that tribe.
And sometimes it's the people who, I think sometimes when we're in moments like that, we often want to look for friends who are going to support us and say, and support everything.
Hard.
That's hard. Oh, that they shouldn't have done that to you. And it might be really like, a little band-aid and like a little pat on your shoulder, and it's really comfy, but it's not helping you. The ones who you need around you actually are the ones who expose to you the parts that you're not wanting to see. And they can do that in a nice way. But they are actually the biggest gifts, is to have the people around you who can, and Jules has done this for me before, who can go, are you really wanting to do that? Or are you thinking that you should do that? Is that really true for you? And actually be willing to be vulnerable and to be held by someone else in that vulnerability. Because the truth is that other person, and this happened to me quite recently too, that other person that you're with that's holding that space for you is reflecting you to you. It's like, you used to say that when you had doula clients or naturopathy clients, that they were reflecting back to you issues in your own life.
Yeah.
That you'd be working through something in your own personal life, and you'd get a string of clients who had a similar kind of thing.
Yes.
Because we were all attracting in the people around us to help us grow at the point we're at. So even the person that you're willing to be fully vulnerable with, they are going to grow from that vulnerability that you're willing to share, because there's going to be something in it for them too.
I think growth through other people's stories and other people's learnings and vulnerabilities, you can't buy that.
No.
Like, it's just, well, you can in our retreat, actually.
Yeah.
But no, jokes aside.
Yeah.
It is seriously, the gift of vulnerability is just as equal for you as it is for that person that you're sharing that vulnerability with. Same as your magnificence. I always think this. The fact that, you know, I'm willing to own my magnificence and my light gives permission to those women around me to own their magnificence and their light.
And that's that idea that, you know, you stick your hand in a pot of honey and some of it's got to stick. You know, the more that you do something amazing, the more it gives permission to people around you to do something amazing. So you going after what's most important to you, you know, if you're a mother, gives your family permission to do that. Because, you know, for so long, you know, I was so caught up in, like, just the way that I wanted to be as a mother, and I felt like I was disowning parts of myself in that way, until I woke up and saw the greatest teacher for my child is going to be me exemplifying what's most true for me. Because actions speak louder than words, and you can tell your children anything you want, but if you're telling them that they can do anything and that, you know, that they have the capacity within themselves to, you know, overcome whatever challenges are, you know, posed on them, but you're not doing that, you can't expect them to, because, you know, you're not walking your talk.
Yeah, that's right.
So
I totally agree with that. The other thing I was thinking about in holding your space is music and movement or dance.
Dance, love dance.
Yeah, seriously, underrated. And I was thinking, I know that you'd sent me that piece of screenshot about something that was about moments of inspiration.
Yes.
So when you're, you know, having an intense reaction, like a, you know, a heart-filling, soul-calling, love singing kind of,
in your body,
in your physiology, in your emotions, those songs, those moments, those stories, those podcasts, those movies that have you tearing up or welling up or expanding with love, those moments of inspiration, they're your guideposts and keep doing them.
I have a little note, like a little note sitting on my phone that I put whenever I get a tear like that. I write it down. Like, I write down what prompted it, like what was the exact trigger for it, because you'll start to see a pattern, and that's a really great way to strengthen your own alignment with your soul, with, you know, what's with your higher mind, with what you're here to do, because that's the way that our soul talks to us, is through things like tears of inspiration.
It really is. And music for me is a big one. I love and adore music, and it shifts my physiology and my emotional state like nothing else in this world. So if I'm feeling off alignment or whatever, I match a song to the vibration or the intent or the feeling of what I'm wanting to bring back in. So if I'm feeling really unsexy, I'll find a song on my playlist, and I have a seduction playlist.
Of course you do, I love that.
That has me feeling really in that sensation, and I play it, you know, with my earphones in, so it's really just for me. And it's amazing how just connecting with that vibration, because music obviously has a vibration,
it creates
shifts
healing.
my physiology. Or I'm feeling really angry, so I find a dance song that I can just rock my heart out to, and my kids all join in, right? I'll crank that music up in the kitchen, and we're all dancing in the kitchen, and I feel healed at the other end of that.
Yeah, that's powerful.
So holding your space. Right, we even do it. I mean, how many kids, or do you remember doing it when you used to go out in the city of a night time? You'd have a playlist, or probably a tape back in my day, that you'd play before you were going out.
Yes, and it just got you in that.
Got you in a vibration, in a mode, in a mood, in a feeling, because music has all of our senses have the ability to shift us.
Yes.
So whether we're doing it through smell and we're rolling on a perfume, or we're doing it through sight and we're just allowing ourselves to really love and appreciate whatever it is that's that tearing inspiration moment, or music that just instantly has the ability to shift, or a movie that matches the vibration of how we're feeling. Maybe we really want to have a cry, or we're feeling really vulnerable. Put a movie on that's going to make you cry.
It's going to let out those feelings.
Because you'll feel really good at the other end.
Yeah.
And that brings you back into authenticity. It allows you to move through and shift that stuff. It brings you back into alignment, into holding your space.
I love that.
So I really hope that today you've got some tips and some tools for holding your space, and you feel strong in your feminine to hold your space.
Yeah.
And if you do need a little bit of help, then I would say to you, please drop into Mystical Dragon in Seaford, or order online actually from the two suppliers that were collaborators for us, Heartspace or Sacred Living Design.
And really think about joining us for our next retreat, because we're really trying to, you know, bring so much of this to the forefront in those retreats and really hold people's spaces to work through it.
Yes, really make it intentional for their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So to connect with Bridget, it's at suburbansandcastles.com, and you're working on your 2016 movie.
Yeah, so our movie coming up in January is called Awake, The Life of Yogananda. So he was the yogi who brought yoga to the Western world in the 1920s. So, you know, his book, The Autobiography of a Yogi, was like Steve Jobs' Bible. You know, he was kind of like the guru, right, for all of these incredible people who achieve so much in our world. So come and see that one with us and really join us for a night of, you know, expanding self-awareness.
Oh, sounds delicious. And to connect with me is thepleasurenutritionist.com, and to connect with us is Nourishing the Mother on Facebook, and we are working on the website at the moment. And don't forget Instagram, we have lots of daily inspirations that do pop up there too. And if any of these podcasts are really calling to you, please share them, please tag people in them, please rate us on iTunes, because it certainly helps us keep going. And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.